Webinar. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's Wednesday. Happy May. Hope everybody's having a great week. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I know in certain parts of the country, we've seen some storms, but hopefully good weather's coming your way. I feel summer in the air. I'm so excited about it. My cat has joined me as an office mate here, so we're going to try and ignore him. But I know we have a lot going on, so I'm going to go ahead and get started as everybody's filling in. First off, welcome to the 2024 Professional Webinar Series. My name is Christy Weeks, and I am the Brand and Digital Media Manager for Harmony Foundation. There goes my cat. All right. We are trying to get Christy's technology to work because she is minus a mouse today. There we go. Today's presentation, I'm so excited. This is the third piece of the motivational interviewing series that the fabulous Diane Asher, lead counselor at Harmony Foundation, has done for us. I'm so excited. Hopefully this presentation ties everything that she's talked about over the last couple months into very usable work. So today is putting the pieces together using motivational interviewing in everyday work. So for those of you who are new, number one, I'm going to open up the chat box. I have not done that because I love to see where everybody is from. So give me 2 seconds. Everybody, you're coming. Let us know where you are and who you are. We'd love to hear about it. And so for those of you who are new to Harmony, here's a little bit about us. As soon as my mouse works. This is awesome. We love technology when it works, right? Here we go.
Las Vegas.
All right.
Welcome.
Located on 43 acres in Estes Park, we are at the base of the Rocky Mountain National Park, and we have been treating addiction for over 54 years. And we are an abstinence-based program. We are approximately 70 residential beds. We do offer full medical detox, a virtual IOP program, family support and education, and a very robust alumni support services program. So we really take pride in having an individualized, gender-specific treatment program, evidence-based 12-step program. And we do provide a lifetime of support for our alumni and their family members. It's very important us to treat addiction as a whole and not just as one individual. So if you want to learn more about Harmony Foundation, please visit harmonyfoundationinc.com, or you can call our main line, speak to an admissions person, and they will absolutely be happy to answer any questions you may have. Okay, couple things. This webinar is being recorded and will be accessible on our website by end of day on Friday. I realize that this is a Memorial Day weekend. It's a holiday for a lot of people. So your CEU certificates will be emailed next week. Usually I try and get them to you by end of day on Friday. I'm asking for a little grace this week because it is a holiday weekend. And I will be out of the office. So please give me until next week to get your certificates to you. In that email, I will include a link to the recorded webinar, which you can find on our website. And just a little tip as to how to receive that CEU. We do not require you to fill out the survey, but you do have to be involved in the webinar for at least 45 minutes. And we do track that. The system does provide us the amount of time that you are involved. So 45 minutes. If you need to jump off earlier than that, just shoot me an email and let me know if you need a certificate of attendance versus a CEU. I'm happy to do that for you. The surveys do come post presentation, and if by chance you don't see that link, it will also be included in your email with your CEU certificate, because we do appreciate your feedback. It helps us develop the next round of webinars. So we want to make sure we're addressing the things that you all want to hear about. Let's see. So Miss Diane Asher, she has been at Harmony for a handful of years. How many years now, Diane?
Just a year and a half.
Oh my gosh. year and a half. We're so lucky to have her. Her entire bio is listed here. I'm not going to read it to you. It is also found on our website. If you would like to connect with Diane, you are more than welcome to find her on our website and reach out. So I know she has a lot for you. I'm going to change lots of words. I'm going to change directions and turn everything. It is Wednesday. It feels like a Monday. Wednesday. It is Wednesday and it's sunshiny out. So Diana's going to take over. And if you have any questions, please enter them in the chat box. I will be monitoring that. So if you see me pop on, Diane knows I've got a question. We're happy to answer those along the way. So Diane, this is all yours.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. I am excited to be here. If you guys could tap in the chat, is this the first session you've attended with me, or have you attended the previous ones? Just let me know. Good. That will give me an idea of pacing. So we have a little bit of everything. Thank you guys. I'm super excited, Christy, that some of my colleagues are on the call.
Yes.
So I'm going to do a very brief overview. Can you see my screen?
You are spot on.
Okay. So we'll just do a quick overview as we go through, but today we're going to have a certain focus. So let's begin. And okay. If you guys have questions at any point, please put them in the chat and Christy will help me monitor those. So today we're going to look at the goal of MI as it relates how you work within each of the 4 primary tasks. We are going to look how to use it differentially and ways to manage resistance. So we're going to be working with all of those things. And there we go. So the first thing we want to talk about in MI, it's really about attending to the language we hear from you. So you're discreetly listening to things that people say that are against change. So yes, I want to be sober and I plan to go back to my fraternity. So those two things possibly incongruent. We want to work in a specific way to minimize or lessen the degree of sustained talk. Our goal is to encourage change talk. The beautiful thing about motivational interviewing is it's not me trying to convince you to change. It's you really finding those internal reasons that you want to change. And when it's appropriate, we can encourage moving away from sustained talk and towards change talk. So let's see. The spirit of MI. And again, we have talked about this on the previous calls. If you're new to this, this is really the foundation. And so it's about being in partnership with people, right? They're the expert on their life. I may have a lot of knowledge, but really they're the expert. And acceptance, accepting people where they're at can really help change. And then compassion. Compassion is super big in counseling in general, in the helping profession. But our intention here is to really attend to the health and well-being of the person that we're working with. And then finally, it's empowerment. So it's not that we're giving something they don't have, it's about helping that person find the internal resources that they already have to help them move forward. All right. So the 4 tasks, I'm not going to spend time on this now. So if you think of the spirit as being your foundation, the 4 tasks are our destinations. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. And then the oars are how you get there. That's the vehicle. So think of foundation, think of destinations and roadmap, and then this is the vehicle. We use these skills to get there. So just to go quickly over those, we start with open-ended questions. Again, open-ended questions leave more latitude for somebody to respond. So if you ask somebody, do you drink? And they say no, you have nowhere to go with that. But if I ask somebody, tell me about the last time you drank, it invites conversation. There are times when we want to use closed-ended questions. We need some specific information, but by and large, we want to try to ask twice as many open-ended questions as closed, and we want to use 3 to 4 reflections with every question, and that takes some practice. So the second skill is affirmations. Here we're affirming specific attributes the person has. This goes back to that supporting self-efficacy, and we'll talk a lot about this today, and how to build confidence in somebody's abilities to make change. And then the big skill of motivational interviewing is reflecting. So you're mirroring back to someone what they've just told you. And there's different things, and you'll see as we move through each task how you can use these skills differently to get different results. So the big way is noticing too whether you're doing a simple reflection, simply paraphrasing, even sometimes repeating what someone has said. That gives them the feel that they're being heard. It really helps with acceptance. If I'm working with someone who is manic or who, say, has schizophrenia, I'm going to use more of these just to help contain that. By and large, though, I'm really working below the surface. I'm trying to get at unspoken meaning or unspoken feeling. And that's sort of where we can use them intentionally to help someone move in the direction of health and healing. And we'll talk about all these skills as we go through each of the tasks. Any questions so far? Christy, just let me know. All right. The last skill is summaries. And these are specific types of reflections where you're collecting information in a certain way to help move the conversation forward, to help elicit more change talk, used at the end of a session, used in the middle if you're transitioning topics. So let's see how these all play out in each of the stages. And the first one then, the first task of MI is engaging. Can we walk together? How are you going to be comfortable working with me? So the main strategy here is to express empathy. So when someone feels like they're really genuinely being heard, that opens the door for that relationship. It builds trust. And it's fundamental to MI. The thing I want to be real clear about is acknowledging either implicitly or explicitly with clients that ambivalence is normal. It's not a sign of pathology. It simply means that you feel two ways about something, right? And so, as we've talked about previously, in many people, myself included, who have been addicted to substances, the fun had gone out long before I quit, but it was familiar. I knew how to get through the day if I drank. I knew how to avoid my feelings if I drank or change my feelings. And when somebody enters recovery, it's like stepping into the unknown. And that can be really frightening. Even good change, there can be ambivalence. You can be super excited to get married, and yet there's maybe a little trepidation, like, this is going to change a lot of things. So that ambivalence is normal, and it is not pathological. So we want to meet people where they're at. So now we're going to go back to the skills. So when you're talking about engaging, you want to use open-ended questions. What brings you here today? What would you like to get out of our time together? So we'll talk more about resistance in a second. Also, another good way to build that partnership, to build trust, is to be really aware of the things that your client is doing well. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. And even if being here is not your idea, and yet you came in, I want to acknowledge that takes courage. So pointing out in that statement, somebody has choice, like even though it wasn't their idea, they still could have decided not to show up, but they did decide. And so I want to give them some affirmations about their willingness. And then reflective listening. So for de-escalation and even resistance, and in MI terms, resistance is not pathological. Resistance is simply that we're missing each other. So ways to work with resistance is to use simple reflections. So there's a good example that Bill Miller uses that typically if there's resistance, we meet it like this, right? Like you're resisting what I want, and so there's this power struggle. In MI, it's more like a keto. So the person is coming at you with resistance, and we want to use that resistance to move them in a direction of health. So for example, if somebody says to me, um, you don't understand. You've never been to prison. You don't know what that's like. I'm going to agree with them. You're right. And it makes it harder to trust people. So I'm going to acknowledge the reality and simply, it's hard to argue with somebody that's agreeing with you. You're right. I haven't had that experience. This must be really scary. Helps bring that tension down. And then summaries, you really want to get to the point where after somebody's been talking, okay, so you've said this, this, and this, and here's how we can work together. So that is engagement. Any questions about using the skills with engagement specifically? This is a really good place to just use reflective listening, letting people tell you their story, letting them tell you why they're here is really powerful. So the next stage is focusing. So where are we going? What's the work ahead? Oftentimes, at least in my job in a treatment center, it's pretty clear that people's goal is to stop using drugs and alcohol. Otherwise, they wouldn't come here. But I have yet to meet somebody who is super motivated to be the best recovered alcoholic in Denver, to be the best, you know what I mean? So you want to get at those underlying reasons that's motivating somebody to get sober. And we'll talk about how to use that to help move the conversation forward. So here, the goal is really to clarify what it is that you want to change. So I want to stop drinking so I can be a better dad. Great. And we'll talk more about how you use that underlying motivation to help foster change talk. The other thing you have to be really careful here is it's my goal to have you be sober and clean. That may not be my client's goal. And so it's coming to a mutual understanding of what we're going to work on. And sometimes our role is to simply be neutral, right? Because the more I try to convince somebody to quit, the more their defenses go right back up. And that is the direction we don't want to go. We don't want people arguing for staying the same. So my client that wants to go back to school and stay with his fraternity, if I am going at it from a point of, that's a really bad idea, what's going to happen. It's like, I get sustained talk. No, I'm pretty confident I could do that. And no, I don't want to do this. But if I come at it from a different angle, I can get more movement. And a decisional balance scale is a good way to help you as a clinician know what you're working with. And this is how it goes. But first, before we get there, I want to show you something about long-term goals. So somebody's struggling with whether they want to give up meth. So you want to develop discrepancy between, say, their desire to be a good dad and their current use of substances. So what is the best thing that could happen as a father if you were to quit using meth? The person is arguing for change, and that's what we want. Rather than me saying why he should stop, he's telling himself. You can also go to the other extreme. So, what's it going to be like for your kids if you don't stop using? What kind of dad will you be then? It's like, oh, I don't want that. I want to be present. I want to be a good role model. So again, when we set it up that way, the client is doing the work. And that's huge for me, at least as a practitioner, that it's not my responsibility to convince somebody to change. It takes a whole lot of energy and it doesn't work. My job is to help you figure out your values, your desires that are going to motivate you to change. So here is the decisional balance tool. And these are a couple more reasons to focus on long-term goals. Now, this for me is a really powerful diagnostic tool in a way that helps with treatment planning. So how many, most of us have done pro and con lists before. And maybe there's 10 reasons to change and one reason not to change, but I'm still like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So this is a strategic way to use a pro and con list to help somebody change. So in the chat, as if we were doing this on paper, let's use a common drug that most people use, caffeine. So type in the chat reasons why you might use caffeine. Stay awake, alert, start my day. Lots of reasons, right? What are some of the downsides right now to using caffeine? So type in the chat, anxiety, crash, dehydration, none, that's okay. Caffeine crash, I can't sleep, stomach ache. So now what you're talking about is you've listed the reasons that are pro and con right now. What we want to do in MI is help people look ahead. So you want to go, and I numbered these incorrectly. It should be 1, whoops, sorry. So it should be, so let's go to box 4. What do you worry about, or what are your concerns that could happen if you were to quit using caffeine? So type that in the chat. Withdrawal, headache, tired, right? So box 2 and 4 are reasons that people stay the same. So then if we go back, we want to move in a clockwise direction. So if we move lastly to box 3, what would be the benefit? Say you decided to quit caffeine. You get over the hump. What's the benefit of quitting? Sleep better, less miserable, less stress on my nervous system, save money, healthier. So yeah, less jittery, great. So if you're looking at this, again, I'm sorry, the boxes should be 1, 2, in a clockwise, 3 and 4. But the way I have it listed now, boxes 2 and 4 are sustained talk. These are reasons why somebody is stuck. Boxes 1 and 3 are change talk. These are the motivations that somebody has to change their behavior. So when I'm developing a treatment plan, and maybe saving money is a big deal. So maybe we'll have a goal around, what are you going to do with the money that you save from not drinking caffeine? Or develop a health goal. Now, sometimes they have a lot of reasons, say it's around drug and alcohol use, of their fear of quitting. Well, I won't have any friends. I don't have anything to do. Those are really legitimate reasons why somebody wouldn't want to quit. So in my treatment planning, we want to build in things like learn how to develop new sober friends, research hobbies that you might be interested in doing as a sober person. So by identifying what motivates them and what keeps them stuck, I can develop strategies and a more effective treatment plan to help somebody change. And, you just take out a piece of paper and draw a square, and there you go. So that one I have found very helpful. It's letting you know right where their ambivalence is. The next one here, and we've talked previously about using the importance and confidence ruler. And the first time we got together, I showed you how to use them both at the same time. You can do it that way, but using them based on the task you're in with a client can be helpful. So think about this. If you're trying to focus on a goal with somebody, you really want to know how motivated they are to do that. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is not important to you and 10 is extremely important, where are you at now? So type in an answer as if you're going to quit drinking caffeine. So on a scale of 0 to 10, 10, 2, 4, 0, 4. Okay. So let's say you picked a 4, or whatever number you picked. Tell me why you picked that number and not a lower number. Type that into the chat. So why did you type whatever number you did and not a number 2 points lower?
Somebody's curious, but they're not ready yet.
Why did you pick a 5 and not a 3? Or why did you pick an 8 and not a 2? Okay. So yeah. need to have a better plan to get there. Some people don't use caffeine. So somebody wrote in, because I like it too much. So that's a reason, that's that sustained talk. But by inviting somebody to write in or tell you a number lower than where they're at, it invites change talk. So I think it helps with my headaches. Right? So that gives you more information. So now I'm going to ask you, what would it take? And if you're not using caffeine at all, kudos to you. But what would it take to get at whatever number you are and 2 numbers higher? What would need to happen? What do you think? Support. Could be things like, something to replace it with, less stress. So do you see how just doing this simple exercise, it really helps you find your own motivation for changing, right? So when I ask about why is it a 5 and not a 3, somebody can say, well, I'm kind of jittery when I don't have it, or I have stomach aches. Okay, well, what would it take to get to a 7? Well, if my stomach issues get worse, or if I spend too much money. So that whole conversation, they're giving you the reasons to change. So it's a powerful tool. All right. Now, I'm going to read this to you guys. Here's the thing about change or focusing is people can have multiple goals under one issue. And so this is an actual phone call with a nurse. So Carolyn's having trouble deciding if she should run a half marathon next year. She tells her provider that although she'd like to be back in running shape, she's not sure it's worth all the trouble. If she decides to run the half marathon, she knows she will have to change her diet, begin exercise more, and spend more time training. So tell me what the goal is here. Put in the chat what you think her goal is, or what she wants to work on first. Deciding, get in shape, get in shape. Get in running shape. Yeah. Diet, have a reason. So the goal here is actually, should she run a half marathon or not? So do you see how there's multiple things under a goal that make it confusing? So here's where the problem comes. If I think that it's around diet and I start giving her suggestions around diet, say, and she's like, whoa, I don't even know if I want to do this yet. So you want to be on the same path that your client is. So here there are multiple issues, but the essential goal is whether she should run a marathon or not, half marathon. So that's a way to sort of really listen to hear what's going on with the goal. The next one, and this is also a useful tool, highly technical, it's called agenda mapping. It's take a blank piece of paper, and when somebody's throwing all these things at you, just start writing bubbles. So in Carolyn's case, we could have a bubble around half marathon. We could have a bubble around getting in shape. We could have a bubble around diet, exercise. It allows you to help the client have a visual aid for seeing all of those things they're talking about. So it helps you find a focus. This is also really helpful with people that are having trouble tracking or having trouble staying focused. Sometimes seeing it visually is a really helpful tool. And again, all you have to do is take out a piece of paper and as they're talking, just start writing words and putting bubbles around it. So those are two, the decisional balance, the importance ruler, actually three, and the agenda map that can help you figure out a good direction to go and makes your job easier. So let's talk about evoking. And this is where typically you spend the most time with your clients. So it's not how to change, it's really about why. So here, our primary goal is to get more change talk. And so going back to what I said earlier around values, I will often talk to clients about you really want to be a good father, and at the same time, let me say that backwards. You really enjoy your drug use, or you enjoy hanging out at the bars, and at the same time, you want to be a good dad. So that would be a double-sided reflection. And I want to start with the stuck side, and I want to end with the change talk side, because that's where I want the conversation to go. So yeah, I enjoy the partying, but I don't want my kids to grow up like I did. Okay, and then I do a follow-up question. What would be the best thing that could happen for your kids if you did stop drinking? So again, I'm asking for more change talk. And so I want to build more and more change talk. And, hearing yourself state the reasons for change simply increases the discrepancy between your goals and your present actions. The greater the discrepancy that somebody perceives, the more importance there is for them for change. All right, so next, here's just some research that's been done, and they looked at clinicians that were able to get a lot of change talk and clinicians that weren't, and they found some common traits. And so clinicians that were able to get change talk were curious about why something might or might not work for them. So you're actively learning to learn about their ideas. You provide information, but you don't rely on it. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I'm not here to convince you to change, right? I don't have to give you the reasons to change. I want to hear from you the reasons that you think you should change. And it actively allows the client to use their own language, which is more powerful than the ones I could give them. So the opposite of that, then, are clinicians that are low in their ability to evoke. So may have only a superficial interest about a client's ambivalence, right? Like I might really care for you, but I see that train wreck coming, and so I'm gonna try to tell you all the bad things that are going to happen if you don't stop or change. And that might not be what your reasons are. It means that the clinicians low in evocation are making assumptions, relying on fact gathering, and it's when you feel yourself starting to try to convince somebody versus evoking from them. So again, I want you to tell me why you should change, not me tell you. And that's hard because we see people make decisions that we feel are not going to be healthy for them. And that's part of why, it's hard to do this kind of work, right? So when it comes to change talk, there's something in MI called darn cat. So here's what I'm discreetly listening for when it comes to change talk. I want to hear desire, like I would like to, I want to, or their ability. Well, I've done it before, or I could do it. And then also reasons, right? Like I'll lose my job, my kids won't talk to me, they won't have me in their life. And then finally, a need. So that would be a potential outcome if they don't change. So that we call darn. So darn doesn't mean that somebody's ready to change. Like, again, they're stuck in that place of even though what I'm doing isn't working for me, it's familiar. It's what I know. We want to move people from darn talk to cat talk. And so the first one of those is there's a difference between, do you hear the difference between saying I want to quit and I am going to quit? So there's more resolve. There's more looking at this is going to happen. Or you see people doing activation. I will give it a try. So think about this. Imagine you're in a wedding and the official is saying to the two parties, do you so-and-so take your partner to be a lawfully wedded spouse? What do you hear? What's the reply that you hear people say at the altar? Do they say, well, I think I could? Or, yeah, I'd like to. Well, I really need to. No, you hear I do or I will. Right? So does that help you see the difference between change talk and commitment talk? There's more resolve. There's more determination. Or you might actually see them coming to you saying, well, guess what? I flushed my pot down the toilet, or I only bought a 6-pack of beer and I usually buy a case. So they're taking baby steps. So that's when you know you're moving in the right direction. It's easy, though, to get stuck when somebody says, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'd really like to quit drinking. My brain goes to, okay, well, we're going to get you signed up for this. I don't want you to go to this meeting and do this. The person hasn't sufficiently resolved their ambivalence. They'd like to, but there's still ambivalence. So I want to keep evoking reasons why they want to change. So I want them to move from change talk to commitment talk, right? And so I want them to convince themselves that that's what they're going to do. And it's kind of like you are blowing air to a balloon. So now in the chat, I want you to tell me which process is this? Is this desire, ability, reason, need? So when you think I could quit meth, what does that represent? Ability? Yeah. Okay, how about this one? I've got to do something about this smoker's cough. What kind of change talk is that? Maybe. Yeah, it's a reason or a need. We're still not like, I'm going to do something about this. It's like, yeah, all right, let's try another one. When I see my sister tomorrow, I'll ask her about that AA group. Is that commitment language, or is that just the darn language? Yeah, it's commitment language. It's even activation. Yeah, I'm going to do something about this tomorrow. I'm going to ask her. Try one more here. I want to get my kids back, and I can't do that unless I quit using. What do you think that is? Yep. She's giving you, or he's giving you, a reason to change. So again, the tendency is to want to, when we first hear those change statements, we want to push into planning. And what you really are doing here is, think of it like blowing air in a balloon. Sorry about that. So you're hearing more commitment talk instead of I'd like to, I will, I'm going to. There's less ambivalence. Instead of like saying, I'm really going to miss my friends, it's like, I wonder what it'd be like to make new friends that don't use. So you're expressing some resolve. And then people start experimenting, right? And so part of change is, I had somebody in my group this morning who has buried some stuff for a very long time, and he just kind of blurted it out in group. And he said it was like a weight being lifted. So that's some commitment. He's taking steps to make change. And that's powerful. So ultimately, you move to the planning stage. Here we get more directive. So where we're following in the engagement process or the engagement task, now we are offering more suggestions. There's a specific MI way to do this, though. And the goal is to consolidate commitment and begin taking small steps. So the MI way to do this, instead of me saying, well, here's what you need to do, I want to ask the person, what have you already tried? What have you thought about? And then I want to offer a menu of options and then come back and say, you tell me which one sounds the most plausible to you. Because inevitably, the one that I think they should pick is not the one they're going to pick. They pick something else is more achievable for them. And it really supports coming back. We circle back to self-efficacy. So here I might use that confidence ruler. It's also, people pick up on whether we believe they can change or not. Not necessarily what we say, but they can pick up on it. And we always have to remember, and this is kind of the last thing I want to say, that it's really the client that's making the decision to change. It's them taking those steps. We can talk about it, but we're not the ones that are doing the work. So that's what I have for today. We have just a few minutes. Does anybody have any questions?
Let's see. We'll see what happens on the chat box. What happened to my video? There it is. There we are. Thank you, Diane, so much for that. We're going to see if anybody's got any questions in the chat box. We appreciate you taking the time 3 months in a row to provide us such an informational webinar series. I know I've truly enjoyed it and really appreciate you and what you do for Harmony. Everybody, if you have questions, now's the time to answer it. Again, CEU certificates will go out next week. Don't panic. Make sure you check your spam junk folders because that's where my emails go. And of course, this presentation, along with every other webinar that we have, including Diane's first 2 of this particular series, are available on our website. So be sure to check those out. Diane, I'm not seeing any questions. I've got an awful lot of thank yous, though. Everybody was very grateful for your presentation, and yeah, looks good on the side there. Any last words?
As Christy said, my contact information is through our website. If I can answer questions or refer you to other resources, I am happy to do that. I'm really passionate about MI, and yeah, it's changed my practice. So thank you guys for your willingness to join.
Oh, right on. Everybody, have a happy rest of your May. Stay tuned for details on the next webinar, and we will, you'll see my emails next week. Thanks again, Diane. Enjoy your day.
My pleasure. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.